Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sports Blitz here, and we're back with another NFL record prediction for 2022. Today, we've got the Los Angeles Chargers right now, and I'm gonna say right off the bat, out of the AFC West teams, I think they have the most stacked roster in that division. That being said, their biggest enemy this season is going to be, well, that division. That division is absolutely stacked. I think it's a real possibility for any one of those four teams to make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised if there were three teams from that division that made it. So, yeah, this division is absolutely stacked. But on paper, I love the Chargers depth chart the most. So let's go ahead and dive on into it, but make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. And so starting off, I've got Justin Herbert. I mean, he's a stud. He had an awesome rookie year, an awesome second year. I think he's going to get even better in his third year. I mean, he has one of the best deep balls in the league. Really, really talented quarterback. At running back, they've got Austin Eckler and Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller was my number 3 running back in the draft and is an absolute stud. I think he's going to complement Eckler really well. They do have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I really like both of those guys. I don't know really a whole lot about Josh Palmer, but Jalen Guyton is talented, and DeAndre Carter is talented as well. But I mean, where they are lacking a little bit in terms of like a number 3 receiver, I mean, having Eckler and Spiller are, really going to help with that. And really, I love their tight end depth chart as well. Gerald Everett is a very talented tight end. I really like Donald Parham as well. I mean, he's a guy that hasn't really had much of a shot before, but is a very, very good depth tight end. They've also got Trey McKitty, which I really liked at the Senior Bowl. Can't remember if it was last year or the year before, but I remember really liking him at the Senior Bowl. Another very talented tight end. So they've got some solid depth there. So, I mean, even though they don't have a great number 3 wide receiver, they've got plenty of pass catching options. Offensive line wise, I love it. Rashawn Slater was an absolute beast last year. Extremely talented. One of the best tackles in the league already. Matt Filer, I don't know really a whole ton about Matt Filer. If I'm not mistaken, I think he used to play for the Steelers. I know the Steelers used to have a pretty solid offensive line. I don't know if Filer was really much of a contribution to that, though. So, don't know too much about him. But, I mean, they've got Corey Linsley, who is one of the best centers in the league. They got Zion Johnson, who is actually my number 1 offensive guard in the draft this last year. I had him graded above Kenyon Green. So there's that. They do have Storm Norton at right tackle. I don't know too much about him either, but he has an awesome name, so maybe he'll play well. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, even behind him, they've got Jamari Salyer, which I think he tests out more as a guard in the NFL, but I think he can probably play a little bit of tackle as well. So, I think they've got some solid depth there. So I do really like the offensive line. I really thought it would have been cool if they would have managed to get Charles Cross, but unfortunately he went before their pick at 17. So, but moving over to the defense. So starting with the D-line, they've got Jerry Tillery, who hasn't really panned out the way that the Chargers expected him to, but he hasn't exactly been like a bad player either. I mean, he's pretty solid is what I'd say. They've got Austin Johnson. I think they could definitely use an improvement right there at nose tackle. But they do have Sebastian Joseph Day, who really, if needed, he could even play inside. But they've got Joey Bosa, I mean, an absolute freak. They actually just today signed Morgan Fox, who I think can be really good both on the outside and inside. If they wanted to rotate him in with Austin Johnson or even Jerry Tillery. I mean, really Morgan Fox was a really solid and underrated player when he was with the Rams. Didn't do quite as well with the Panthers last year, but still made some good plays here and there. So another good depth piece right there. Moving on to the linebackers. I mean, first thing, Khalil Mack. I mean, an absolute freak. So between him and Joey Bosa, that pass rush is going to be disgusting. So just going to get that out of the way. Drew Tranquill, pretty solid linebacker. I mean, I don't think he's really anything special. Could use an upgrade, but he's pretty solid. Kenneth Murray, I'm higher on him than a lot of other people are. I do really like Kenneth Murray. I mean, this is going to be either his third or fourth year. I can't remember. I think it's his third year. Yeah, I think he's going to have a much better year and really show people why the Chargers drafted him. But then moving on to the secondary, this is what I really like as well. So starting off with the corners, J.C. Jackson and Asante Samuel. J.C. Jackson was one of the best free agency pickups of the offseason. Awesome pickup. Absolute ball hawk, locks down corners, and he's not really like a Trayvon Diggs type of guy either, where he gets a lot of interceptions but gives up a ton of yards. No, like he actually locks his receivers down too. Really good player. Then Asante Samuel, I mean, I was like, guys, you can go back on my channel from quite a while ago. I was hyping up Asante Samuel so much before the draft. In fact, I actually wanted my Carolina Panthers to get him. He is an absolute freak. So him and J.C. Jackson, I think, are going to be one of the best corner duos in the league. They've also got Bryce Callahan. So they've got plenty of good corners right there. I love it. Then they've got Derwin James, who, I mean, again, if he can be healthy, like, he's one of the best safeties in the league. When he's healthy, he is one of the best safeties in the league. Nazir Adderley, he was drafted just a couple years ago as well. Hasn't been quite as good as, we expected, but I think he's going to take another big leap forward this year now that he has some more help in the secondary. And a better pass rush. So, I mean, I really love that secondary. This is a defense that, as long as they can stay healthy, they're going to make some noise. They're going to be one of the better defenses in the league. So, that being said, let's go ahead and move on into the record prediction. All right. So, I'm going to start off actually with the divisional games. Now, as I said earlier in the video, their biggest enemy is going to be their own division. I think it's very possible for any one of those four AFC West teams to make the playoffs. And I think there will be 3, if not all 4 AFC West teams making the playoffs. So it's going to be a tough division. I don't know quite in depth enough to the point of where each team is going to beat any given divisional rival. What I decided is that each of these teams are going to beat each other once. Okay, I could not decide who was going to sweep any team in their division or get swept or what. I ultimately had all four teams in that division going 3-3 in their division games. So again, probably not going to happen. It's probably pretty unrealistic. I think if there's any matchup in that division that I think they'll sweep a team is I think it'll be Chargers sweeping the Broncos. That I think is the most likely for me. I know the Raiders play the Chiefs really, really well as well. So, I mean, that's a possibility too. But I think the Chargers sweeping the Broncos is the most likely. So, if it were to come down to like seeding, I may change some things around, but I'm getting too far ahead of myself. Let's go ahead and put in these divisional predictions. I'm going to just have each team win at home. So, Chiefs win at home. Obviously Chargers beat the Raiders at home. Chargers beat the Broncos at home. But then we've got the Chargers beating the Chiefs at home. Raiders beating the Chargers in LA. Then the Broncos beating the Chargers in Denver. So, again, 3-3 divisional record, but I'll admit, it might not be super accurate. It's so hard for me to predict. But then, I think they're going to have a good start to the season. They're going to beat the Jags. They're going to beat the Texans. And I don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to be suspended or not. I think that's really going to sway my opinion here. But even under the assumption that Watson does play, I think I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the Chargers here. I don't think the Browns are going to necessarily be, like a 14-3 team, but they're going to be very, very improved over last year. But that being said, I think they've got some obvious holes at wide receiver. And where corner is the Chargers' biggest strength right now, I think that's going to be a big problem for Deshaun Watson. So, then going on to week 7, we have the Seahawks at Chargers. I'm going Chargers here all the way. I don't think Seahawks are going to do anything this year. I think they're going to end up with a top 10, possibly even top 5 pick. Just being honest here. I know Seahawks fans are going to hate me, but just being honest. Then, I think the Falcons are headed in the right direction, but I don't think they're real ready to compete quite yet. I don't know if by week 9 if it's going to be Desmond Ridder or still Marcus Mariota. But yeah, I'm going to go Chargers for that one. Then week 10, we have the Chargers at 49ers. And this is a tough one. Everything that I'm hearing this offseason is that Trey Lance is really struggling. That he's not performing how they expected. Which I could see this being due to how long of a release he has. He doesn't get the ball out super quick. Just because of it, his throwing motion is going to result in him getting hit a lot more. And I don't know if that's necessarily what the coaching staff is seeing that's resulting in, all of this talk of him not being very good. But that's some pretty big news. It also doesn't sound like Debo is necessarily happy there either. I think the 49ers may have some issues going on that we don't quite know about. So I think I'm going to go Chargers here, though that's not a game I'm super confident in. I wouldn't be surprised if, the 49ers win that one. Week 12, Cardinals are another very overrated team, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, they've got the receivers. They've got a solid running game. But like I'm not a huge fan of the defense, I'll be honest. I think Kyler Murray is a little bit overrated, to be honest. I don't think I think he's kind of like a borderline top 10 quarterback. And I know Cardinals fans are going to be mad about that because, they all want to say that he's, top 5, top 7. I'm sorry, he's just not. He's not on the same level of the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Justin Herberts, the Tom Brady's. He's not on that level. And just overall, I think the Chargers have a much better roster. I think their corners can match up well with the receivers that the Cardinals have. I'm going to go Chargers here. I think the Cardinals are honestly probably an 8-win team. So I already talked about the Raiders matchups. The divisional ones are hard to predict. Then going on to week 14, we have the Dolphins at Chargers. Honestly, not real confident in Tua. I'm really not. I mean, I like him as a person, but I don't think he's going to be that guy. So I'm going to go Chargers. Week 15, I think the Titans are also kind of in a tougher spot because, I mean, I love Treylon Burks. I think he was a solid replacement for A.J. Brown, but still, I don't expect him to make quite the impact that A.J. Brown did, especially, in Burks' first year. So, whether it's Malik Willis or Ryan Tannehill, the quarterback's going to have a hard time. They're going to very much have to rely on Derrick Henry. And, yeah, Derrick Henry is the type of running back that can win you games, but I don't know that the Titans are going to be another, 10, 11, 12 win team. I think they're going to be kind of more in that 8 to 10, possibly 11 win team. I just think the Chargers are better. I'm a big fan of the Chargers this year. I really am. That said, though, they've got some tough games to finish out the season, so I am going to go with the Colts. That is a really tough game. I think the Colts just have a really, really good defense, and with how good their offensive line is and having Jonathan Taylor, I think this is going to be a big, big game for Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to have over 150 rushing yards, and I think it's going to overwhelm the Chargers. Week 17, this could be a sneaky good matchup. I don't think the Rams are going to blow out the Chargers, but it's going to be a good game. It is going to be a good game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers pull it off, but I think I'm going to go Rams. So they have a kind of a tough finish to the season. Ultimately, so in my last two predictions, I had the Raiders also at 12-5 and Broncos at 11-6. This does currently put the Chargers at the top of the division. Now, I haven't been able to see the Chiefs' schedule quite yet, so I don't know, what I'm going to predict them as right now. But just right here alone, 12-5, I think that is a very, very safe prediction for them to make the playoffs. And again, there's other games in here that they could win. I mean, like I said, wouldn't be surprised if they swept the Broncos. Wouldn't be necessarily surprised if they beat the Colts or Rams. It's just hard to predict games like that. So, yeah, Chargers fans, let me know what you think of this prediction in the comments section below. Again, smash that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Later.